All right. Okay. So we are ready. So hi everyone, everybody. My name is Ricky Trigalo, and I'm one of your co-hosts together with Dr. Tronika Van Zandt. We are here to share with you how you can help, how you can heal your gut through functional medicine, nutrition, and herbs and acupuncture. I know that sometimes people don't connect the things between acupuncture, herbs, diet. We try all kind of things when it's coming to our gut health, and we are here to organize things and help you to heal your gut naturally without medication dependencies. I know gut health is a big topic, especially in the modern life, and we are here to help you here. So I will start by introducing myself. My name is Ricky Trigalo. I based in Sunnyvale, California, and I see my clients either online or in my clinic in Sunnyvale. I help people who gave up sometimes. They try to find solutions for their gut health, digestive issues, hormone issues, thyroid problems, and they go to their doctors. They get answers that everything looks normal. They either they do blood tests, everything looks normal. They do colonoscopy, endoscopy, and everything looks normal, but they know that something is wrong, and they are trying to find solutions. Sometimes they are poking in the dark, and after they've gone through some time, they come to me. And what I do with functional medicine, and I'll talk more about it, is I help them using advanced testing. I'm looking for healing opportunities, and we are finding the root cause for the problems. And how I do that through diet, lifestyle changes, and targeted supplements. And together with me, I have Dr. Tronika. Dr. Tronika, why won't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. So my name is Tronika Van Zandt, and my clinic is Wellness Acupuncture and Herbs based in San Jose. And I help people with chronic health issues, things like pain, neuropathy, autoimmune issues, and anxiety and depression. And I do this by addressing root causes in the effort to support cellular health so that we can heal the way that nature intended for us. And I do that combining acupuncture, Chinese herbs, some modern therapies like microcurrent, scalar energy, and ozone. And I use all of those things together in an effort to help the person get back to a natural state of healing as quickly as possible and help them to be in a place where their bodies stay healthy long term.
Nice, thank you. And Dr. Tronika, you get your patients in San Jose.
I do indeed. Yes.
Nice. All right. So, as you register to our webinar, free webinar, you'll also receive from us special gifts. One of them is a diet program for gut healing that includes 7 days meal plan with recipes, 21 recipes, nutritional values, tips, and leftover instructions. You'll also receive from us two booklets for at-home solutions for stomach health, constipations, what to focus and what you should avoid, things that you probably didn't think of or didn't know. Target supplements, while we will share with you some supplements, we definitely don't recommend to go and purchase them right away before you test, before you know for sure that these are the right supplements for you, and you learn about what sea flash is and what other enema solutions.
Awesome. I can't wait to see my copy of that because I think you've got some really great ideas in there. I also provide a couple of documents to you. One is a Gut Instincts ebook, which will contain actually a lot of the slides that I'm going to talk about and present today. So it'll almost be like taking the slides home with you. And I also have a copy of my favorite bone broth recipe, which is really easy to do. You make it overnight. It's wonderful. And for those of you who are vegetarians, I'm actually going to include a mineral broth recipe that I'm taking from one of my patients. She actually has a fabulous recipe, and I'll include that as well.
Wow, amazing. I want that too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with what functional medicine is. I know that some people heard about the term functional medicine. We hear it here and there, integrative medicine, functional medicine. So we really don't know what it is. So when I talk about functional medicine, I like to start with what traditional medicine provides us. So first of all, traditional medicine has a very, very major place and super important, and it saves our life. So functional medicine will not replace traditional medicine. And if I need a doctor, I will go to traditional doctor and I will look for disease. But traditional medicine focuses on disease diagnostic and it focuses on ease on the symptoms. While traditional medicine will not answer, will not look for the question why. And this is where functional medicine and integrative medicines come in place. We are looking for the root cause. We do root cause analysis. We are trying to understand what is wrong with the body, even before there is a disease. Because between the time that we start feeling the symptoms, and symptoms are basically signals from our body always signals us, whether it's a positive signals like energy, like good sleep, like balanced weight, like nutrition that we know that we feel well when we eat good for our body. But there is also bad signals like pain, bad sleep, low energy. We cannot lose weight or we cannot gain weight. Those are signals from our body that something is wrong. And if we go to the doctor, not necessarily we'll find disease. And this is the answer where everything looks normal, which means that we don't have a disease. Functional medicine, we're looking for healing opportunities. We are trying to understand where and what is out of balance. And it starts with the gut. And we'll talk about why it starts with the gut. The gut is really in the middle. And it's really a window to the external world and also a window to the internal world, which is our body, which every cell is influenced by what the gut provides. So we are running, first of all, blood tests, but we are running also advanced tests, which are stool tests, hormone tests, hair analysis, food sensitivities, and I'll talk about some of them later in the presentations. We are running them in order to see what the body suffers from. And then we start by removing everything that the body doesn't like, replacing it, and also boost the immunity, repair the organs and systems, and eventually to bring the body back to balance because the body knows how to heal itself. And this is the whole story behind functional medicine.
Beautiful. So in the same vein, I also look for root causes. I call them the seven energy leaks because I believe that for our bodies to be healthy, we need to have the ability to create fully functioning new cells. And to do that, we need both nutrients and voltage. And with regard to the voltage or the energy that flows through our body, there are three things around how we create energy. So that would be thyroid, adrenal function, and stomach and digestive function. And then there are four things that I look at that pertain to how that energy flows through the body. And that's going to be impacted by scars, emotions, toxins, and dental infections. So similar way that we look for the root of why is it that disease or problems are happening in the body.
Wow, it's so interesting to know that scars are part of the energy leaks.
Yeah, I love sharing these things because I think there are things that most people don't hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, why gut health matter? Why we care about gut health in general? So, 70% of the immune system lives in our gut. And also, we know that the gut is called as a small brain, which means that majority of the nervous system exists in the gut. And when we are looking from the Chinese medicine,
Very similar attitude about this. Yeah, in Chinese medicine, we have this saying that if the stomach is good, the prognosis is good, which means that if your digestion is functioning the way that it should, whatever illness is going on, there's much more likelihood of getting over it.
it's amazing, huh?
So
So,
real focus there too.
yeah, so why gut health matter? Gut health matter because, like I said, first of all, it's part of the immunity. Majority of the immunity sits in the gut. And when we check the gut health, we check the immunity in the gut. And this is a major indication that something is wrong. There are many research, and I even linked to one of them here, that the gut microbiomes are microtransmitters to the brain. So there is the gut-brain connection. So the gut microbiome affects the moods and the mental health. And that's why many times when I see people with ADHD, depression, anxiety, sleep issues. They are all, I'm looking also into the gut health. So if the gut and the brain are connected, and the brain is responsible to the hormones, the brain actually signals the body, the adrenals and other organs to secrete hormones, then there is a deep connection between the gut and the hormones. So when a person comes to me and tells me about sleep issues, or tells me about anxiety, like I said, or even estrogens, progesterone, testosterones, imbalances, I'm looking also into the gut. Obviously, I want to look into the adrenal, but definitely I want to look into the immunity in the gut. I want to see the microbiomes.
So we're designed to heal. Anybody who's ever broken a bone or skinned their knee has experienced this. The skin is replaced every 4 weeks, the stomach lining replaced every 3 days, the liver every 6 weeks, and the nervous system is replaced every 9 months. Now, of course, that does not mean that the organ just dies and then poof, we end up with a new one. The replacement happens cell by cell by cell over that period of time. And to generate healthy, fully functioning new cells, like I said before, there are two things that we need, and that is nutrients and the proper voltage. And so as we continue on with our presentation, we'll talk to both of those things.
Yeah, it's amazing because every cell replicates itself. So if we don't have the right nutrients and the proper voltage, like you'll explain later on, the replication will not be healthy.
Right, exactly.
So when we should start suspect of gut imbalances? So obviously there are the obvious physical symptoms like bloating, gases, constipation, diarrhea, all alternating between them, heartburn, acid reflux. All of those are, yeah, obvious. Yeah, we have something in the gut. We even go to gut doctors. We are going to do colonoscopy. We want to check what's going on. But there are other symptoms, like we mentioned, because there is a connection between gut and hormones, and there is a connection between gut and brain. There are other symptoms that when we have them, we want to look into the gut, and we'll dive into some of them. Some of them we don't even know. I didn't even know, and to be honest, I learned about it as we built this presentation. But for example, thyroid. Thyroid is our control panel, and we know that it's part of the immunity, but it's also part of the metabolism. So when the thyroid is doesn't function in the optimal way, I will definitely look into the microbiome. But who thought about PMS, PCOS, anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, and there are so many others. And some of them Dr. Tronica will talk about now.
It's a huge list, isn't it? I've pulled out 6 of them, and these are the things that I look for when I'm seeing new patients. So the puffy lower lids, you can probably even see that mine are a little bit that way tonight, really is more an indication, at least in Chinese medicine, of stomach function not being where it needs to be. And a person who shows these signs typically has like a lowered interest in food. They may also have acid reflux or even possibly food allergies or um, uh, intolerances to different kinds of foods. Now, if that puffiness is showing up in the upper eyelid, it's more an indicator of spleen deficiency. And in Chinese medicine, spleen and stomach go together in terms of handling our whole digestive function. But that upper eyelid, people that have that puffiness there, they're going to show signs more related to edema or what we call dampness in the body. It can even show up as upper respiratory, kind of sinus drainage and leaky eyes and that type of thing. Easy bruising is an interesting one. When our digestive system is not providing us with the nutrients that we need to our bodies, we are not helping our muscles to have the energy that they need. Legs and arms can feel heavy or weak. There are also muscles, smooth muscles that line the inside of our blood vessels. And when those little muscles become weak, blood can more easily extravasate or leak out of the blood vessels and cause that easy bleeding. You can even see petechia, where you see like little dots of blood just kind of oozing out of the blood vessels. Or that occasional, when you brush up against a door or a table and then later end up with a bruise that you didn't expect. Those are related to digestive issues. You
Wow.
can go ahead to the next slide. So fatigue is an interesting one because general fatigue certainly relates to digestive problems, but in particular, when I talk to people and they tell me that they're tired after they eat, we call it postprandial fatigue. That's a real definitive indicator that we've got a digestive problem. Anxiety is another one. When you look at the fact that, for instance, GABA is created in the pancreas, and GABA is all about helping our nervous system to kind of come down so that we're not in this constant state of agitation all the time. When we don't make enough GABA, anxiety is definitely something that happens. And one of the first things I look at is digestive function. Low back pain is another interesting one, and this is a particular kind of low back pain. As a matter of fact, if you move on to the next slide, I'll explain a little bit more about how this all plays out. So when you feel pain, especially around the SI joint, so that's the two little kind of divots in the back of the low back. It's also called the eyes of Venus. When that area in particular is painful, what can be happening is that, so if you look over here in the lower left, the ileocecal valve, where the little green circle is, that's where the small intestine and large intestine connect together. And sometimes that valve there doesn't close completely. And what can happen is that there can be a little backflow of fecal material into the small intestine. And as you can imagine, the small intestine really does not enjoy that situation and it becomes agitated and inflamed. And when it's in that state, it can inflame the tissue behind it, which happens to be the psoas muscle. As you can see, the psoas muscle connects to the lower vertebra of the back. So when it gets agitated and inflamed, it contracts, pulls on the low back. But as you look even further into the body, you can see that SI joint sits behind all of this. And so the joint itself can become inflamed. So it's a really interesting kind of cascade of events that can happen to cause low back pain when we don't have good digestive function.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's always when we don't take care of one problem, it will always cascade to
Mm.
other areas in the body, and we see that a lot.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about stomach acid in particular because I feel that it's such a critical, important component to our overall digestive health. Three aspects that I want to talk about. So number one, so often when people have acid reflux, they take a proton pump inhibitor or Tums or something like that to tamp down the acid. And truly, the reason for acid reflux is more often not enough stomach acid than it is too much. And the reason for that is when the acid in the stomach is created after we eat food, the lower valve in the stomach, that pyloric sphincter, sends a signal to the upper valve to close. And if it's not like a pH of 2, which is highly acidic, if it's lower, that signal doesn't get sent to the upper valve and it doesn't close off. And that's when we get that reflux or that GERD that, you can feel the burning in your throat. The second issue that happens when we don't have enough acid in our stomach to digest our food is that the food we eat is not broken down into amino acids. And amino acids are really the only thing that should be going into the small intestine. So when that breakdown doesn't occur, we end up with these partially digested proteins that pass along into the small intestine and then ultimately end up in our bloodstream. And when that happens, our immune system sees those partially digested proteins as invaders, just like a virus. And so the body creates these antibodies to attack those invaders. So the next time you eat that same food and that same process happens, we've got these antibodies that are all ready to attack. And you can start to feel symptoms just like you've got the flu. You get upper respiratory problems. You can have runny eyes, runny nose, sneezing. You can get a fever, body aches. Heart rate can increase as well from situations like this. And that's actually one of the ways in which we become intolerant or allergic to certain foods is because we just did not have enough stomach acid to start with. And then third, I wanted to bring up the fact that when we're not able to break down and make those amino acids, some of the key amino acids that we can miss out on are things like tyrosine, which is a precursor to thyroid hormone, adrenaline, and dopamine. Or we can miss out on amino acids like tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin and melatonin. So just like Ricky mentioned before, right, these are all things that help to produce energy in our body, regulate mood, and regulate sleep. And it all starts from not having the right stomach acid to be able to digest our food correctly.
Yeah, and taking Tums or anything that will reduce the acids, the acidity in the stomach, not only will cause more damage, it will also open a tunnel to bad bacteria to go through the stomach because there is a reason why the stomach needs to be acidic. And that's also to block bad bacteria to go through that and sit in the intestine.
Very good. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you, so here's some physical evidence of what it looks like in the blood when those partially digested proteins get put into the bloodstream. So on the left side, we've got a picture of live blood under a dark field microscope. And you'll notice that the blood cells are not round. They're kind of a teardrop shape, and some of them are sticking together. That is that partially digested protein. It creates stickiness and it creates clotting in the blood. And when too much of that clotting starts to happen, we have less ability for the blood to flow freely through the blood vessels, especially as you get down to, the ends of the arms, the ends of the legs, into the smaller capillaries in the feet or in the fingers and the toes. That's when pain can set in because you've got blood that's too clumped to be able to move down into the smaller spaces that it needs to move into. Conversely, on the right side, same thing, dark field microscope, but this was after a person having an E-stim acupuncture treatment. So I use a very specific protocol with a specific voltage to help give more negative electrons to the blood. And so you see a couple things. One is that the red blood cells are round and they're a little bit brighter. And that's because they have more of a negative charge around the outside of the cell, and it's called zeta potential. And our red blood cells should be like that because they're repelling each other so that they can flow through the bloodstream more easily. Additionally, the other thing that you'll see here is that kind of bright cell there at the upper right. That's a white blood cell. That's part of our immune system. And the great thing about those is when they've got the energy that they need to do their job, they won't be these kind of dormant round little things. They're going to start opening up their arms and bringing in whatever pathogens or detritus is sitting in our bloodstream to get those things out of the body, eat them up, and take them out of the bloodstream. So two wonderful things that happen that we can help with if we've got those issues around partially digested proteins that have ended up in the bloodstream. There are some things we can do to help.
All right, so let's talk about functional labs. We mentioned functional medicine, and we mentioned that there are other labs, that are advanced labs that usually you will not receive from traditional doctors because those labs will not help with disease diagnostic. And when it doesn't help with disease diagnostic, it doesn't fit the traditional medicine approach. So the very first one is looking into the food reaction, to the immunity food reaction. Now, the immune system, the way it's designed is where when the body is exposed to something that the immune system doesn't like, it will develop inflammation. And sometimes it will also be healthy foods. It will also be healthy chemicals like medications, like preservatives. Sometimes we eat packaged foods, so we need preservatives, those. But it can also be vegetables. It can also be legumes, seafoods, dairy. And it can also be spices and herbs, and even specifically when you want to take any supplements that is based on herbs, if your body is sensitive to that, and I see that many times in my clinic. For example, people take turmeric because it's anti-inflammatory, and they heard that from their personal trainer, or they heard that from TikTok or Instagram, so they take anti-inflammatories, turmeric, but then they find out that they're sensitive to turmeric. So basically, the immune system will create inflammation against the turmeric. So I will have to replace the turmeric with another anti-inflammatories like fish oil. But also sometimes I will see oregano. People will be sensitive to oregano. So definitely oregano oil is good as antifungal, but for people with sensitivity to oregano, taking oregano oil will just make things worse. So I will first of all make sure that I will remove everything that the person is sensitive to, and I will build their diet plan in a way that the person will just boost the immunity and not develop more inflammation. The other test that I will always run when it comes to microbiome or when it comes to digestive issues is the microbiome map. Now, many people come to me when they already take probiotics for months and sometimes even for years, and that's make things even worse. So taking too much probiotics may cause constipation, and I have many cases like that when people just constipated because they took too much of probiotics, and this is what we see here. So I will test the commensal bacteria, which are the good bacteria. Those are the flora bacteria, and I want to make sure that they are in balance. If they are out of balance, and if we have too much of something, it means that the body cannot digest the food properly. Other bacteria that I will check is obviously the overgrowth bacteria. Those are the opportunistic bacteria or the bad bacteria that we don't want to have in the gut. I will check also for Salmonella, for E. coli, for Giardia, for H. pylori, for parasites, for fungus, for viruses, worms, all of those very, very important to know if we have them because we are traveling around the world. We eat raw food, we eat raw meat, raw fish, we eat outside many times, so we are exposed to different bacteria. Yes, our immunity, specifically in the stomach, also, we naturally know how to eliminate those. But if our immunity is already weak, and then we expose to bad bacteria or parasites, then the immunity will not be able to get rid of those. In the stool, we can also learn many other intestinal health markers like in enzymes, like liver function, like secretory IgA. This is the immune response. We want to see how the immunity is in the gut. And in this case, the immunity is suppressed. So the very first things that I'll do, I'll first of all boost the immunity. I will check the anti-gliadin IgA, which is basically the antibodies to gluten. Yeah, sometimes I receive clients when they have sensitivity to gluten, but they don't have celiac. Well, celiac disease is the end stop, the last stop of the gluten sensitivity. But it will take years until the person will develop celiac, and we can definitely reverse it. If I see gluten sensitivity, I will advise the person to at least not to reduce the amount of gluten, if not eliminate that, at least for a period of time, because we can reduce the anti-gliadin, the antibodies, and prevent celiac. And obviously, we want to check the calprotectin. Many people are familiar with the calprotectin. This is the gold marker of inflammation. And the best way to check it is in the stool, is through the gut. And if I see the calprotectin high, it alarms me that something is bothering the body. So this is like the first thing that I know, okay, there is inflammation. Obviously, there is inflammation. Let's check what the sources of inflammation are and start to eliminate those. And many times it's multiple sources. So it's not only one root cause, there are multiple root causes. And I will work with the diet, lifestyle, and targeted supplements for a period of time. And then I will start to change things back, because the idea is not to avoid these foods forever or to live on these supplements forever. The idea is to boost the body and let the body to heal itself naturally after that.
An amazing and robust number of things that you test for.
I know, and those are only two.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Yes, and now that we understand, first of all, the symptoms, we understand the connection between the gut and the rest of the body. We understand how we can heal the body. Let's see what we can do even today, even after this presentation, you can start with. And we'll start with the diet. So this is one of my favorite slides. I almost every presentation I have this slide, and I always tell people, eat the rainbow. get as many as colors from the nature, because colors in the nature are chemical reaction. And we don't have to remember that greens are good for immunity and detoxification, white is anti-cancer. If we're looking at our plate and we see multiple colors, at least five, and they're all from nature, right? They're not food colors or anything like that, we know that we probably get enough. We probably support our organs and systems. So the very first thing is look at the plate, look at your plate, and see that it's colorful from nature. The second thing, as you look at your plate, make sure that you have a balanced meal. You have everything, and this is a great plate. As an example, it doesn't have to be organized like that, but as long as you have carbohydrates, and I know that many people, when they start a diet, they first of all cut carbohydrates and fat, and they don't want to have calories, so they focused on fiber and protein. But if we don't have carbohydrates and we're looking into the complex carbohydrates, and those can be black rice, those can be quinoa, those can be buckwheat. There are so many potatoes, all the starchy vegetables, especially the peels. Those are complex carbs, because the carb is divided into fiber and sugar from the nature. And the sugar is the first fuel to transform into glucose, which is the fuel of our cell. The cell needs that in order to produce energy. So we want complex carbs and we want fiber, because the fiber is basically we feed our microflora with fiber. Of course, we want fat, and I know that many people who wants to lose weight, they will cut fat because it's having calories. Yes, 1 gram of fat has 9 calories versus 1 gram of protein and carbs is 4 calories. But guess what? It takes the body more energy and more time to break down the fat versus to break down the protein and the carbs. One. Second, our brain is built of fat, and our nervous system needs fat. So if we don't have fats, the very first thing that will happen, we will lose energy, we will have brain fog, we will be tired, we won't be able to work out, we won't be able to sleep well. So it's super important to have fat in your diet. And of course, protein. And protein, the best way to know how much protein you need is to take your weight in kilogram, and multiply that in zero point 0.9 or even 1 gram of protein. And that's the amount of protein that your body needs per day. Of course, if you work out, you need more protein, or if it's a very busy day, or if you study, you need more protein because your brain needs more energy. So definitely don't miss any of those. And if you eat a balanced meal, I assure you that one thing, you will lose weight if you need. Second, you will not need to snack between meals. So look into the plate, the very first thing. Now, there are many types of proteins. Choose the lean proteins, and lean proteins can be either from the animal products or can be from the plants. The only difference, the main difference between animal products, animal protein versus plant-based protein, is how much from the protein the body absorbs. While the body absorbs almost 90% of the protein from the animal products, and the reason for that is because we have all the amino acids that will help us to absorb the protein. From the plant-based proteins, we absorb only 30%. So in order to increase the percentage of the protein absorption from the plant-based protein, we want to combine between the plant-based protein and grains. So that's why quinoa, for example, or buckwheat, even though they are grain and they're also rich in protein, they are considered as complete protein, versus tofu, which is plant-based protein. We want to combine it with grain, or for example, lentils. And for those who are familiar with the recipe of majadara, which is a combination between rice and lentils, this is a great way to absorb the maximum protein from the lentils. Yeah, not all proteins have the same amount of protein. chicken has 31 gram of protein for a 3.5 ounce. One egg is only 6.7 gram of protein. It's really not enough. And don't be concerned about cholesterol when you eat eggs. We know that that's the research that was done 30 years ago is not correct. So yeah, eat more eggs, eat more protein, make sure that your body gets enough. We'll talk about fat. So like I said, the body needs fat in order to function. We need it for hormones. We need it for absorb vitamins. Most of the vitamins are fat soluble. We need them for fat for brain, but not all fats are the same. Go with healthy fat like avocado, like ghee, like tallow, like seeds, like olive oil, and pay attention to the unhealthy fat. Unhealthy fat are basically all the fats that are based from vegetables like canola oil, corn oil, vegetable oils, soybeans oils, sunflowers. Sunflowers is considered as a very healthy fat, but when we process it and we create oil from it, basically it's highly oxidative and it's very unhealthy. So avoid those if possible.
So much inflammation comes from those kinds of fats. I wanted to just add in really quickly, and you'll get it in the download from my ebook. There was a Swedish study done that found that rats who were fed a diet of containing canola showed four things: growth retardation, so they didn't grow to the normal size, damage to the heart muscle, lowered lung capacity, and lowered tolerance to cold temperature.
Wow.
And yeah, just wasn't ever, canola in particular is rapeseed oil, and that was originally created as a lubricant for small industry, small engine type of thing. It was really not meant for humans to consume. So definitely these are things to stay away from to keep our inflammation down.
Yeah. Now, since we eat outside, and yeah, we cannot control of what the restaurants use or what oil the restaurant use, at least pay attention to what you use in the house.
Yeah, good
That's
point.
the best way to do that. So yeah, the life is 80/20. So we cannot avoid everything, and we always will get some processed food. We also get some refined sugar. We also get some canola oil or other seeds oils, vegetable oils. We cannot avoid it all, but that's why we have the liver that help us with cleaning the toxics. But if you can avoid it in the house as much as you can, do that. That's my advice.
Excellent point.
So let's talk about probiotics. And I know many people go to Costco, go to Safeway, go anywhere to get probiotics just to try to fix their microflora. Sometimes in a very, very short terms time, it's good to take probiotics and it's good to take prebiotics. But the majority of your life, you shouldn't take probiotics in pills. You should get your probiotics from fermented foods, and you can make it at home or you can buy them. So things like kimchi, like sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha, bitkvass, all of those are highly high in probiotics. So go get them, eat them, add them to your diet. And actually those can be great sources for afternoon snack. That's my favorite afternoon snack. So not only that I get my probiotics, I also don't eat a sugary high sugary snack in the afternoon. I just get my sauerkraut or I make my own fermented vegetables in the house, and it's very easy to do that. And if you want to do that, send me an email, reply my email, and I will send you my recipe.
Awesome. What a great ad. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the voltage aspect. So as I mentioned before, the energy that's created in our bodies through thyroid function, adrenal function, et cetera, the ATP that's in the mitochondria of our cells needs to be able to flow through the body. And even Western medicine recognizes that energetic flow in our bodies. And that's why we've got EKGs that measure the electrical fluctuations in our heart, or EEGs that measure the electrical fluctuations in the brain. In Chinese medicine, the channels or the meridians is where we see the electrons, the negative electrons flowing through the body. And in more Western terms, that's actually the fascial planes that are kind of integrated throughout our bodies. So yeah, so we're going to take a look here at the channels. If you can go to the next slide. So one of the ways that the channels are impaired is when we have scars, surgical scars, or it sometimes can be injuries depending upon how deep they are. So for instance, my son was actually born via C-section, and I ended up having some problems with my knees and actually with my toes. And on the left side here, I've got a picture of the stomach channel in particular. So you can see where that flows. And I was having some issues right in the areas downstream from my scar where I was having issues, like I said, with the knee and with the big toe. When I was in school, I volunteered for the day where we did scar treatments, and that scar that I had, which was fairly keloid, fairly, raised and red, got to sit on the table with needles for, I think it was like 20, maybe 30 minutes. By the time that treatment was done, that scar was flattened. And within 2 days, it was not only completely flat, but no redness, and actually had a lot more energy after that. So there are definitely ways that we can help the body reconnect those channels when they've been impeded by scars. The other thing that I look at, so in Chinese medicine, there's a correlation and a connection between each of our teeth. They're connected to each of the meridians in the body. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the stomach and spleen. So those teeth happen to be the molars on the top and the premolars on the bottom. And when there are things going on in the mouth like root canals or metal fillings, both of those can have a real impact on the channel. Root canals in particular, our teeth are living tissue. And when you have a root canal done, the blood supply and the whole lymph flow and the nerves are all taken out, drilled out, and filled with that gutta percha. Now that living tissue that was being cleaned with that lymph flow that goes through the tooth, it's all gone. And the dental tubules, these little holes that are in the teeth, now start to fill up with bacteria because the tissue now is not being fed the things that it needs to stay alive. And that bacteria starts to go into the bone tissue where that tooth sits. And left for a period of time, that infection will also start to flow down the channel that's associated with that tooth. There's a doctor in Texas who found that 98% of his female patients who had breast cancer also had a root canal in a tooth related to the spleen stomach meridian. So something to take a look at and understand a little bit better. And if you'd like further info, it's a much bigger topic and more than we have time to discuss today, but I'm happy to share details. So if you want to reach out to me about that, I'm happy to provide more information.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So cool. So now we get to talk about ways that we can improve stomach acid. So the very first thing is to take all of those proton pump inhibitors, whether it's omeprazole or Tums or, whatever the thing is, they're really only meant to be taken for a couple of weeks. It's a short-term solution. So all the things that happen when you suppress stomach acid are going to happen when you're taking a proton pump inhibitor for a long period of time. And the way to fix this, at least in the short term, is to take a betaine HCl, which is going to help give your stomach the acid that it needs in the moment. So you want to take that before you eat. So that's a short-term fix to the situation, but longer term, we want to make sure that the body has the right nutrients to be able to create stomach acid on a regular basis. And so that's going to include having vitamin B1 or thiamine, selenium, zinc, and iodine. And the cool thing about that is the other part of your body that's really going to benefit from these particular supplements is your thyroid.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of microbiome, so when we talk about microbiome, obviously we want to balance them and let them live balanced for life. So everything around microbiome, when we boost the immunity, when we support the digestions enzymes, and we give some probiotics, specific probiotics, really depends on what we see in the result. They are all short terms. So we want to make sure that we don't take them for life. I don't recommend anyone to take any of those supplements for life. I first want to, while we are working on the diet change, we also boost the body. Whether if the enzyme don't work well, we support with enzymes. Whether the immunity, we support, we boost the immunity, and of course probiotics and prebiotics in some cases. So those are just examples. Obviously, we don't recommend you to go ahead and buy them right away. But just pay attention to what you can do in for the short term and the long term in order to support your body. Okay, so we have not long to time to left, so we'll talk about a little bit about case studies, and I will start with Emily. Emily, she came to me. She was 45 years old. Actually, she came to me with very chronic constipations. She was very bloated, gases. And she literally told me that she has genetic constipation. That was her, from her words, genetic constipation. She said her mom has it, her sister has it, her aunt has it, her grandma had it, her entire family has it, and she doesn't know what to do. She came to me as a last stop. And to be honest, I was very concerned about it in the beginning because she suffered from chronic constipations for 20 years. And what I ran with her is obviously the blood test, but also the GI map, like I mentioned before, and the food sensitivities. And what I learned is that, yeah, I see that she took probiotics for years. So first of all, I took off the probiotics, and I also saw that she has very high sensitivity to strawberry, to rice, and to wheat. So I removed those from her diet. And while I rebalanced her microbiome, it took us four months until she stopped having constipation. So in fact, I talked to her a few months ago. She doesn't work with me for almost 2 years now. And I called her and said, "How are you doing?" And she said, "Hey, since we work together, I never had constipation in my life. And the only thing that she removed completely from her diet was the strawberries." So who can imagine that strawberries were the first source or the first root cause for her constipation. And then because she poked holes in the dark, she tried so many things, she just made things worse. And as we rebalanced her microbiome and we started working on her diet, everything has gone.
An awesome situation and story to share. Wow. That had to change her life in a big way.
Oh, yes.
So I want to share a story about Stacy. She had a disc problem at, I think it was C5, C6, where the disc actually had to be taken out and replaced. And then they put like a clip between the two vertebrae to keep the new one in place. And I didn't know this until I'd met her, but the surgical site actually comes in from the front. And you'll notice that scar sits right over the path of the stomach channel. So what happened for her was within about a week or so, she just had extreme fatigue and nausea. And so we treated that with acupuncture, not actually even here at the neck where the scar was, but we treated a point because it was still a little raw and tender in there. We treated a point in the in the ear that related to where that scar was showing up because there's a whole microcosm in the ear that reflects the entire body. And within a few days, she was feeling back to normal and eating regularly and feeling much better. Her scar actually healed a lot quicker too after that.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. The
Yeah.
relation between fatigue, nausea, and scars. All right. So before we open the stage for questions, how to work with us. So, like I said, first of all, we promise that we listen to you. I know sometimes we go to the doctor and the doctor has only 10 or 15 minutes with us, so we don't really have time to explain everything, to really touch everything. And the body is a whole. There's no such thing as a mental, liver, kidney. There is no, everything is connected. The body is one. There is only one body. And so, yes, we will actually listen to you and we will answer all your questions. If we can help you, if we cannot help you, we will help you to find the right place. I specifically don't work with kids and I don't work with people with cancer. So if I have patients and we find out that they have cancer or we suspect that, I will help them to find another practitioner to help them. And we will be honest with you. So,
Yeah. I
uh,
think one of the nice things about both of us, Ricky, is the fact that we spend good, long quality time with people when we first meet them to understand the big picture of what's going on with their health situation.
yes, yes, and that's the main thing. And in order to book with us, you can use the QR code here, whether you want to work with Tronica or with myself. So we both of us use the QR code to schedule 1 hour free consultation. During the free consultation with me, I will first of all review your medical history and your health goal. I will talk about gut and hormones assessments. We will review what functional testing and what traditional testings we would like to run, and then we'll find together what the right program for you.
And in
Tronica?
a similar way, I'll go over those 7 root causes that we looked at earlier. And from there, I'll make treatment recommendations in terms of how many sessions, how long a period of time, and what the cost would look like for that overall program.
Yeah, thank you. So, and with that, we will open the stage for questions. So, if you have any questions, you can either use the chat or you can raise your hand and I will unmute you to ask all your questions. You, of course, will receive from us the session recording, and you will also receive from us the gifts that we promised in the beginning of the presentation. So feel free to ask any questions. We are here to answer. And if there are no questions, thank you very much for joining us. Oh, yeah, I see that there is a question. Let me just unmute you. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go.
I'm unmuted. Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds an interesting subject. I've been actually exploring it for quite some time because, of course, I think earlier on when I started by introducing myself, I'm from Kenya, and of course, it's been an interesting subject maybe because, of course, in my case, my mom had that situation where she had to be, um, let me say, um,
The goiter.
yeah, she had to undergo surgery. But it's unfortunate that with Western medicine, it's more like everything you just have to be prescription. And sometimes it's like we've detached ourselves from using the traditional medicines, which are, as I mean, as you've reiterated too, are the solutions. But sometimes even our doctors, they keep, I don't understand why they keep on insisting on that. I'm assuming it's because maybe they have a share with the companies that sell the functional medicine. So I was a bit curious to understand how, like, someone like my mom would be sorted with such, especially with such, and I'll be honest, we are having so many chronic diseases in the country because of course, with the chemical type of food we are eating. But in particular, I would be very much interested in the situation like I've mentioned about my mom.
Yeah. So since you're in Kenya and
Mm,
obviously Dr. Tronica works in person, and
mm,
I will help you I will connect you with another practitioner in Kenya that can
mm,
help you with functional labs to
mm.
check the stools, check urine and hormones, maybe check your thyroid and see what we can do. I will connect me after the session. Send me an email. I think you asked me for.
Yeah, I've already sent you an email.
Okay, perfect. And I will connect you
Yeah.
with a practitioner, a peer of
Mm.
mine in Kenya.
Uh, oh, where is she?
Yes,
Which part of Kenya?
yeah, I don't know. I need to check that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yes.
because me, I'm in the coast part of Kenya.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Later.
yeah.
Thank you. Any other
Okay.
questions, anyone?
Well, and I was going to say, without being specific around how to address this, just in general terms, the kinds
Yeah.
of things that help out with goiter are going to be iodine, having appropriate iodine, the cofactors that help iodine to be absorbed, and then possibly even a thyroid medication, whether that's a synthetic or a natural desiccated thyroid. But those are the kinds of things that I have seen to be very helpful for people who have nodules, or I typically don't see people who are as far as having goiters, but who have nodules on the thyroid.
Yeah, okay. Now, because a heart was completely removed.
Mm,
So I don't know, yeah, the effects. Because sometimes she feels very sick. So it's like she has to manage it with some few herbs. It's more like experimenting. So I felt like it's important if she had a targeted guideline on
yeah.
how she could easily manage it. Yeah, because like right now, I feel like whenever I see her experimenting with this medicine and another medicine, it's more like experimenting. She doesn't have a tailored approach that